See, one of the responsibilities for the HR department is analyzing what are the various jobs which are there in the company and also designing the jobs. If it's a new company you are setting up, you have to design the job. If it's the old company which is already operating, then you may have to redesign the jobs, because constantly every company is in a state of flux, nothing is static. The products are changing, customers are changing, market is changing, all right? People are changing, new kind of skills, technology is changing. So within the change, the jobs cannot remain the same. They also keep up, they have to change. So which department is primarily involved in that? And that is the HRM department. Of course, in real life, it's not only the HRM who does it. It's a cross-functional team. When you redesign jobs, you of course have to involve people who are actually doing the job, isn't it? So HRM often has a coordinating role. But usually when new plants are set up, then the HRM would have the primary role of setting up the jobs, and they have to be the driver of this. They have to consult operating people, but they have to do it themselves. Okay. So let us see concept, definition and meaning. What is a job? What is a concept? A collection of tasks, very clear. Duties and responsibilities which as a whole is regarded as a regular assignment to individual employees and which is different from other assignments. So there is differentiation between one job and the other job. Okay? A group of positions or modules of work done by division of the total work. Example, you are dividing the whole work of the office, let us say, into peon, clerical, supervisory, technician, accountant, manager, etc. So division of work. Why? To make for better efficiency in operations. Everyone doing everything may not be as efficient and will not be in fact usually as efficient as if there is large volume of repetitive work, you divide it and make specific people do specific type of jobs. Any questions? Job analysis, the process of collecting information about a job. It finds out the anatomy of the job. Everyone knows what is anatomy? Yes? You know what is anatomy? Anatomy of the job. What does it mean, anatomy? Internal, external, like anatomy is a term often used in medical science, and there is a subject in first year of MBBS, anatomy, famous Gray's anatomy. Dr. Gray, he wrote this book many years ago, and it has become a classic, Gray's anatomy. Anatomy shows various parts of the human body, both internal as well as external. So that is what it means here. It finds out the anatomy of the job, various parts of the job, hidden as well as overt. It finds out the contents of an existing job. Example, what are the duties of a clerk? Group 1. What are the minimal skills, knowledge and abilities required to do the job? Minimal skills. After that, they can be trained to do higher level jobs. Okay. So analysis by its very nature, is dissection. You take a whole, you cut it into parts, then you put it under a microscope, analyze. What is the opposite of analysis? Correct, synthesis. You have various parts, jigsaw puzzle say. Okay. Your ability to, from this part to assemble a whole, look at a whole pattern or a picture from what seemingly are unrelated events or episodes. Okay, that ability. So this analytical ability as well as synthesizing ability. Both these are important for managers. Okay. And if you have both of these, you have the skills of analyzing and synthesizing also, then you have the skill of conceptualization also. If things are not there in front of you, you'll be able to picture them in your mind, conceptualize. Definitions. Job analysis is a process of getting information about the jobs, especially what the worker does, how he or she gets it done, why he or she does it. Skill, education and training is required. Relationship which is required. Relationship to other jobs, physical demands, environmental conditions. Now as you can see from the definition, this is applicable and referring to jobs on the factory shop floor essentially, or jobs which you may term as lower level jobs, not higher level, right, which may be large volume and repetitive. Okay. Early on, after the Industrial Revolution, when scientific management school came into being, what they did was basically the scientific approach to analyzing the jobs, right, and then going about ways to find the best methods of doing each part of the job, all with the idea of increasing the efficiency, right. You have heard of Taylor, Frederick F.W. Taylor. All of you have heard about him. Oh, he belonged to the scientific school of management, and they believe that you split the job into all the elements of the total job. Then you try to do each of these elements separately in large volumes, repetitively, you get high productivity. And then finally you assemble it. And this was applied where? Very successfully. Where did they apply this principle? Very successfully. Time motion. But where? Automobile manufacture. Automobile assembly line is a dramatic example of how efficiencies can be increased. To make a car by one or more person, but from start to finish, if it took, let us say, 30 days, with assembly line, splitting the work, assigning only one or two components of the work to the individual, you could probably have 100 cars in one day. Look at the dramatic order of change that is brought about. Okay. So they use these methods of analysis, right, to very great advantage. But they found out after some time that there is a limitation. There is a limitation to how far you can increase the productivity by doing it by analytical and scientific methods. And up to a point, after that no more. Why? Why? Why no more? Why not? It goes on and on and on and on. Huh? People get tired. Alright? Say this is efficiency or productivity. And this is, let's say, scientific methods, say automation or mechanization. So it went up dramatically, and after some time it saturated, and then it started drooping. It was very good. What happened here? What happened? People were tired. Why didn't they get tired here? In this zone. Repetitive work. So they got bored. Bored, is it? Fatigued. What kind of fatigue? Physical or mental? Mental fatigue. So what was the process that was happening? You have here a human being who was being dehumanized. He is becoming a robot, and therefore rebels, because he is not a robot, he is a human being. Rebels. How does he rebel? By setting his own standard. तुम कुछ भी करो, हम तो इतना ही करने वाला हूँ. No more. Huh? Set own standards, not what management sets. And any workman who tries to go beyond what is the standard set by the workmen themselves, they will be punished. Where? Outside the gate. Huh? So this is what happened. So therefore, new schools of thought came in, out of which spawned this whole concept of HR and not PM, which we discussed in the last topic. Anyway, major outcome of job analysis was job description and job specification. Okay. And what is job description? This is prepared based on the data collected through job analysis. It is a narration, all right, of the contents of a job. It is a description of the activities and duties performed in a job, the relationship of the job with other jobs, the equipment and tools required, the nature of the supervision, the working conditions, and the hazards of a job. So has any one of you seen a job description sheet? Job description sheet, no one has seen. No one has got any experience here in any organization? You have? What do you think is job description sheet? You have to manufacture, let's say, a component. Alright, a job description sheet will tell you all those things which are relevant. Usually it will give you a drawing. Let us say this is a component, all right? And they'll tell you the dimensions, all right? It will tell you the tolerance. It will give you the materials, description, quantity. It will give you the machine to be used. It will give you the tool to be used. It will give you the interconnecting component with which it will mate. All right? Interconnecting component. It will also give you the time for batch. So many minutes or seconds per batch, and the batch may be 100 numbers, say. What is this? When a job comes to you and the quantity to be manufactured. Why do they give you this? Because today you have first shift you are working, second shift another workman will come. Third shift another may come. This is a batch. These components may be in a production run for 4 days or 5 days because quite a few thousands of them are necessary, are required. So it's standardizing. So what is the process which we are trying to do here? Job description, standardizing essentially. Any questions? Any changes which happen here, all right, in any of these will be interrelated on the other. Say the material specification changes, all right. You have been making out of a, let us say this component, you have been making out of mild steel sheet of 20 gauge, and now you do value engineering and say the design department certifies even if you reduce the gauge to 22 gauge, make it thinner, you can still have the same strength and same functionality, but you can save the cost. So moment they change the material specification, all right, you may find the tool which you have been using has to change. You may find that the amount of materials which you have to issue changes, the time that is taken changes. So all these interrelated things will have to be revised again, this sheet. Okay. So standardization is the reason why you have this. Job description and job specification. So purpose of job description is grading and classification of the job, placement and orientation of new employees, promotion for career path, developing work standards, counseling of employees, and delimitation of authority. Okay. After all, in factories, you have jobs which are skilled, right? Jobs which are semi-skilled. Jobs we do not require skill, we call them unskilled sometimes. Nowadays, modern terms, we don't call them unskilled, because we say if it's unskilled, why have a man at all? So we call it grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, some other name. But the different gradings are there. Then placement and orientation of new employees. New employees that come have got certain experience, they have got some qualification, so they have to be fitted into an appropriate job. So if you know the job description, you can match it with their qualifications, experience, knowledge and skills and place them. Promotions and transfers, how does it come in? Job description, how is it relevant to promotions and transfers? Tell me. Yes, so but I am saying for purpose of job. Purposes of job description. How is job description connected with promotion and transfer? That is the question. No?
For fitting the person for a suitable job.
Fitting the person for a suitable job, yes. If you have a job description and you have people who have got all these qualifications, all right, which are more than for this job, maybe you can consider him to be promoted. You have a semi-skilled workman, all right, say he is an assembler, semi-skilled assembler, and you have a skilled assembler. And in the union agreement, you have got this job description written quite clearly. He is a semi-skilled assembler. He said, he shall recognize the necessary components. He shall have the ability to place them properly in the fixture. He shall have the knowledge of selecting the correct fasteners, screws, and doing the assembly operations under supervision. Then you go to the next. Next says all this. In addition to doing what a semi-skilled assembler does, he shall have the ability, or he shall work independently from drawings under supervision. Then you go to the next, highly skilled assembler. And it is in addition to what is for the skilled assembler, he shall be able to guide other assemblers in doing out complicated assemblies, and also to be able to troubleshoot and correct wrong assemblies done in the shop floor. You see the difference? So depending on the job description, the promotability is coming in. So someone who is semi-skilled and says, look, I can do from drawings, I've got the skill. You promote me now to the skilled workman, because in the skilled workman, it says shall work from drawings. Semi-skilled, not from drawings, under supervision only. Then the word independent. Those who can guide others, these are highly skilled. So those who have it will be promoted. So that's the relationship. Okay? Any other? Counseling of life. Tell me, someone tell me how job description, all right, comes into counseling of employees. We just said, if you want a semi-skilled assembler, all right, to learn something, to be told how to do it right, we've already built into the job description of the highly skilled that he shall guide others, correct mistakes. So we need not ask an engineer to come and tell. We can always give this job to the highly skilled and say, look, you go and counsel him. Why he is doing wrong? Analyze it, because that's part of your job description. So you need not send a very highly qualified BE or BTech or MTech to teach it to the semi-skilled assembler. So it has a role. Job description has applicability in counseling of employees also. Any other questions? Last one. Delimitation of authority. Who will answer this to me? Tell me. Delimitation. You are limiting someone's authority, some workman's authority. Tell me. Yes, you have not spoken. Tell me. You are limiting authority. In other words, say you are a semi-skilled workman. I am limiting your authority. How? By job description. What authority? To guide other workmen. Say I come, I am taking a round, I am production manager on the shop floor, and I find you, a semi-skilled assembler, is in the workstation of a skilled assembler, okay? Then I ask you, what are you doing? No sir, he had a problem, so I was telling him. I say, who are you to tell? I have limited your authority. You are not supposed to tell. He is supposed to tell you, why have you left your workplace? Clear? I am limiting the authority by describing the job. Now for higher levels, do we have this detailed job description? Usually no. Say a general manager will not have a job description, but very large organizations may have that also. It will be more broad based. So the general manager shall be overall in charge of all activities and functions of his department, okay, or factory. Broad. He shall foresee possible problems that may arise in relation to his factory and take proactive steps to see that these problems do not arise, or if they do, they are solved initially without much damage being done. So some broad lines you can. Now deputy general manager and general manager, you can delimit also, isn't it, or limit by job description, but usually it is not done because it is so broad based. It is difficult to pinpoint and write down all those things which you should not do. Very difficult. As you go higher up the hierarchical ladder. But for lower, it is very, very important to write it down. And particularly when we have the unionized factory, because the pay, the perquisites, the remuneration packages are connected very much to the job description and job classification. And all the disputes that arise are usually based on this job description and job classification. There are so many nuances there. Often there will be a dispute, sir, he can do this job. Management says, I know he can do this job, but he is not doing it. So who is to blame? You are not giving him the job. Management says, I can't give it to him because I don't have the orders which has so much of this type of job that I can give it to him. I already got employees who know that. So I sympathize with him, but I cannot promote him. So all these sort of issues come. So job description is very important for lower level, particularly when you have unionized jobs. Any other questions? Okay. So this is giving you, like I was trying to tell you, for a shop floor, a job description of a component. Here's a broader one. A statement containing items such as job title. All right. The last one which I showed you was a job, meaning a work piece on the shop floor. This is a job, meaning the work to be done by an employee. That's the difference. Location, job summary. Location means where he is sitting, which office. Is he Delhi based, Bombay based? If there are two factories, is he sitting in the Powai factory or Borivali factory? Job summary, duties, machine, tools, equipment, materials and forms, supervision given or received, working conditions and hazards. And then, as we said, the job analysis gave rise to two things, right? One was job description and the other was job specification. So what does the specification state? Statement of human qualifications. One was job related. This is the person who will do the job. Specification. Necessary to do the job. Usually contains such items as education, experience, training, judgment, initiative, physical effort, alright, physical skills, responsibilities, communication skills, unusual sensory demands such as sight, smell, hearing. Any questions here? Unusual sensory demands. What does that mean? That means certain jobs, like you are in the Navy, let us say. All right. In the Navy, many of the, or why go so far? Say you are a driver, you are driving a vehicle. All right. If you are color blind, all right, you may not be given a driving license because you cannot distinguish between red light and green light. You drive through. So if job description of a driver, say you're a company, we have got 50 buses, you're writing job description, then unusual sensory demands such as sight. You have to say the driver shall undergo test to be certified that he is not color blind. That's a specification, job specification. Any other questions? Okay. So the job specification, therefore, does not really focus on the job, but on the person doing the job. It states the minimum qualifications, skills, physical and other abilities, experience, judgment and other attributes required to do the job well. And the purpose of job specification is for personnel planning, hiring, performance appraisal, training and development, job evaluation and compensation, health and safety, employee discipline, works scheduling and career planning. Think about it. All this is easy to understand, or you have some questions to ask?
What about this hiring?
Hiring. So you say, for instance, you've seen these advertisements. The advertisements, you have to write down a job specification. First you start by telling all these. We are a ISO 9001 company, all right, engaged in manufacture of highly sophisticated switch gear and motor control gear with factories in 5 locations in India. We are an industry leader in our industry. Then, second para, after giving the credentials of the company, what do they say? We have vacancies open for experienced mechanical engineers, all right. Qualification required, postgraduate from preferably IITs, with specialization in thermal. Okay, type of job. Huh? Then it says previous experience. Previous experience not necessarily from IIT. Other institutions 1 to 2 years preferred, and so on. Is giving the person what is his age, what is his qualifications, what is his experience, what types of experience. Sometimes these advertisements say that 10 years experience, out of which at least 3 years should be as head of a section or department. That means even the managerial and administrative experience you should have apart from job. So this is for hiring, this is very important. In fact, you may get it in the test, a question. Write down the job specification for hiring general manager of this company. So you have to then write it down, design it and write it down. Okay. Any other questions? Work scheduling. All right. Scheduling of work. That means there are certain time periods in which you have to do the work, isn't it? So, purpose of job specification, we will have to say that he shall be required, all right? He or she shall be required. Let's say it is a job of a company doctor. So, he shall be required to spend time equally in both our Powai factory and in our Borivali factory. Okay? And he shall be called upon when required to visit, to make home visits to company's senior officers. So it gives you an idea of the job specification in terms of the work which that company doctor has to do. Schedule. If some doctor doesn't want to go home visits anytime during the night, he will not apply for this job. Or he has his own clinic in the evenings, which is near Powai. He may not be interested in going to Borivali. So for work scheduling, this is necessary. Okay? Any other? All right. So we have seen job analysis, all right, and from the job analysis we saw two outcomes. What was the first one? Job description. Second one, job specification. Now you see job evaluation. It is a comparative process of establishing the value of different jobs in a hierarchical order. Again, you say it's evaluation. Evaluation means good, bad. So there is a judgment. And value. Value of different jobs in a hierarchical order. For instance, if I ask you that in the factory, all right, you evaluate the job of personnel manager, training manager, production manager, and sales manager. Right? You understand? It's not an easy thing to do because you have to see the value which each of these positions is adding to the overall benefit of the company. Each is important job, but you have to provide. Because in order for company to fix remuneration packages and so on, they need to know it. There are many companies where they do not have at the board level, it's just after the MD, the next level of the company, they do not have, let us say, a vice president, right, of personnel or a vice president legal. They have lower down. They have general manager, but not vice president. What is implicit in that? That they have evaluated the job, and for that company, the legal or the personnel function, all right, in terms of, and therefore the person who heads that function is not as important for that company as the marketing or the production. Okay. It allows one to compare jobs by using common criteria to define relationship of one job to the other job. It serves as a basis for grading different jobs and developing a suitable pay structure for them. However, it cannot be the only factor to determine pay structure. It is important to know. Why is it only? Because also the pay structure is not only by the job but also by the person. Is it not? If a person is highly qualified and at the moment the job he is doing is of lesser evaluation, but in order to retain that person so that in future he can be used on higher posts and higher jobs, they may pay him more. Okay. So that's why it says not only factor. It is important to know that job evaluation is ranking the job and not ranking the job holder. That is exactly the reason that is I just mentioned. Sometimes the holder may be overqualified, but for various reasons he has been asked that temporarily you do this job till we get something better for you. So this concept you must understand. Job evaluation is ranking the job and not ranking the job holder. So some definitions. Job evaluation is an attempt to determine and compare the demands which the normal performance of a particular job makes on normal workers, without taking into account the individual abilities or performance of workers concerned. Hence the example I gave you a little while ago of a worker saying, Saab, why are you not promoting me? Because I have got the ability, I can do the skill job. What does this say? Without taking into account the individual abilities. To determine and compare the demands with the normal performance on a particular job. So now you are doing a job as described of a semi-skilled worker. We acknowledge that you can do the job of a skilled worker, but that job is not there. When that vacancy comes, we will give you that job and then we can give you a promotion. This point is clear? Very important point. It is not what you can do which is important for the employer. What you are doing, that is more important. So if you are in a company where you feel that you are underemployed in terms of your qualification and experience, you are doing a lower job and they cannot give you a higher job in a hurry, it is better for you to leave that company. Take a job commensurate with your level. And by the same token, remember, during the hiring policies, many companies have hiring policies where they do not take overqualified people. If they say that we want people who are graduates, B.Tech, and you go with M.Tech, they won't take you because you are overqualified. And why don't they take you, by the way? Is it something foolish they are doing? Because you are saying, look, I can not only do what B.Tech is doing, I can do much more than you. For the same pay, I will do it. But they say, sorry, we won't take you. Why?
For the moment, it will be okay, but later on,
Why? Why later on? Why? You are right, but why?
you not be satisfied.
May not be. You will start, having a chip on your shoulder, and dissatisfaction will be there from day one. ये क्या है? देखो किस्मत. All these are B.Tech, they are getting, some are getting more also because they joined few years earlier. I am M.Tech and I am not getting. So your attitude will be bad. In the long run, both will suffer. Your job will suffer, that means the employer suffers. And you will suffer because you will become negative in attitude. It will harm you in your career. So they say we never take people who are overqualified. And there's a lot of sense in that. Okay? Job evaluation is an effort to determine the relative value of every job in a plant, to determine what the fair basic wage for such a job would be. It's not a very easy exercise. So there are so many jobs, which is difficult to determine which is more important and which has more relative value. Say a bus driver in a factory, okay, and a forklift driver. Which do you think has more value, or are they same? Yes. Let's do a little mental huh? बोलो ना क्या situation? I'm giving you exact. I'm saying you're, let us say, in Larsen and Toubro, and they've got drivers there, and they've also got forklift operators. So which should be, when you do evaluation, you're doing job evaluation, which adds more value? The job, not the person. How would you go about it? One way is to look at it from the others. Who can do more harm to the company? That's one way of looking at it. Therefore, if there's a job, when I say who, I mean which, there's a job where the risks are such that the harm to the company which may happen are more. Example, you kill the chief minister in a road accident whilst you are driving on the road. Okay, what happens? The company is in great problem. The driver goes out in the road. Does the forklift go out into the road? No. He drives within the premises in a controlled environment where the speed limits are given. It is unlikely that he will kill anyone in an accident. But if he does, the kind of damage that will inflict on the company will be of lesser order. So that's one way of looking at it. Therefore, which has higher job value, job content? Maybe the driver who is driving your bus all over Bombay, than the forklift operator, and so on. What are the other? There may be other factors on which you will do the job evaluation, isn't it? Another factor may be the skill which will be required because of the conditions. In a factory condition, all right, he may be working in yards where you have to have maneuverability. He may be stacking material with the forklift, so he has to have some skill, otherwise there will be accidents. So this will be one of the things taken. Maybe in his case, there are no mechanics who are dedicated to repair the forklift. So in a forklift operator, he may require some skills of maintenance or repair, in which case that adds value to that job, isn't it? So there are ways of evaluating. Okay? Right. You are having another class. So we'll end here, and we'll end by saying that differences amongst these three items: job analysis, job description, job specification, 4 items, and job evaluation. So job analysis is a process of examining the various components of a job and the circumstances in which it is performed. Whereas job description is a description of the duties, scope and responsibilities associated with the job for that person. Okay. No, of the job. Job specification, on the other hand, is the minimum acceptable qualifications that the job incumbents must possess to perform the job. So this is relating to the person. And job evaluation is again relating to the job, not the person. A technique used to establish the relative worth of jobs in a job hierarchy. Okay? Any more questions? No. So we can end today's class. Thank you very much.